what role do you think values hold in the living educational theory process?
Um, they're basic, they're fundamental because, and I learned this when I studied philosophy of education, 1968 to 70, that education is a values-laden practical activity. So you can't distinguish something as educational without approving it. And that means that the values that you use, for example, in particular with learning, are a necessary condition of judging something as educational. Is that okay? Because the question is absolutely fundamental, that I don't believe you can distinguish, as I say, something as educational without approving it. And that means exercising, in my language, the judgment about values of human flourishing in the learning.
Okay, so do you see the values obviously you would think would inspire you to engage in the research process? And do they continue right throughout the research process?
Well, I owe Moira Laidlaw, who, while she was studying her doctorate with me, she pointed out to me something I hadn't thought of, and that is that I was stressing that what you do with your values is you clarify them in the course of their emergence in practice, which an idea I got from Paul Feyerabend's work on against method. Now, what I hadn't seen, and that Moira actually pointed this out, is that it's not just a matter of clarifying the values, that the values themselves throughout the course of a lifetime evolve and modify. So that the values themselves are living and evolving. In the course of their clarification, you also have to really understand that they are being amended, they are evolving, sometimes they are transforming.
No, yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, about the values being constantly evolving and changing. I'm just trying to get my head around that. And let's say, I think so. If I have a value around social justice, how does that change? How would that change and transform, Jack? I just
Yes, yeah, no,
a
it
little bit of
does,
clarity
because,
around that. Yeah.
yeah, for example, in your doctorate, Bernie, that was
Mhm.
about 2006 and 7, you focused on social justice.
Mhm.
Now, because of your work, this highlighted to me how important it was to take social justice as a value. Now, when I actually look at what I'm now doing, social justice actually can focus on issues like equality.
Mhm.
But in my research, I have extended my whole issue of social justice into global um, communities of teacher and practitioner researchers. So when I started, I looked at my classrooms and I was very conscious of with my children, actually wanting to value equality, that I didn't want to be unfair in the treatment of my students. But as my research continued, that notion of social justice moved out of my classrooms into the school. It moved into the local authority. At the moment, it's into the global networks of practitioner researchers like Swaroop Rawal in India. That Swaroop is actually focusing on social justice through life skills education. I'm working this afternoon with 5 researchers who've just been successful in getting a symposium at the American Educational Research Association. The theme is on equitable education systems. I hope I'm making sense here, Bernie, that when I
Yeah.
started, it was just focused on the children in my classroom. Now, in 2021, you'll see that I'm trying to address an international education research association on an issue of contributing to equitable education systems.